Showtime involved with a Japanese friend who became his, quote, personal aide, did a lot of work for Ohtani, may have been involved in business investments in addition to working with him, traveling with him, being his spokesman, helping him translate, and also doing video work when Ohtani was in games or in batting practice or pitching. All this when he was with the Angels. He has been with Ohtani for 6+ years. He is no longer with Ohtani. After the opening game on Wednesday night, the story broke when the Associated Press and the LA Times came upon information from an FBI probe that Ohtani's name had been linked to a gambler out of Orange County. And this thing took off like a wildfire. The FBI probe was of bookmaker Michael Boyer. Ohtani's name somehow came up in a conversation in which Boyer hinted that Ohtani was, quote, a partner. Most people of the opinion that Boyer was trying to develop some street cred by dropping that name. Well, as the investigation expanded, we find out that Ohtani's personal aide, Ippei Mizuhara from Japan, translator, business partner, investor, is the guy that was involved with the gambler in Orange County. Gambling addiction, huge debts run through Michael Boyer's offshore accounts. That further they investigated, they found transfers and withdrawals over a 6-year period while he was with the Angels and even up to spring training while he was with the Dodgers. He was a club employee, was paid by the Halos, paid by Dodger Blue because Ohtani wanted him to be part of his inner circle. He lost $1 million a year over the last 4 years. They just discovered in September, October, at the end of the baseball season, $500,000 individual transfers from Ohtani bank accounts to Michael Boyer's bank accounts. He admitted he was a gambling addict. He admitted that he used DraftKings accounts weekly to get started. And now we find out that Mizuhara and Boyer are linked to a convicted gambler in Las Vegas by the name of Wayne Nix, who's already done prison time. So there's no doubt that Boyer has a cartel of people who bet with him, and he's had a relationship with Nix in Vegas, who's nationwide known as a gambler. The FBI transcript showed Boyer's accounts had Ohtani's money put into those accounts offshore. Now, the problem is Mizuhara has changed his story twice in about 12 hours. Initially, when he was confronted by the Associated Press and the LA Times with this evidence, he indicated, yes, there was a transaction. Ohtani agreed to pick up and wipe out all his debts. 12 hours later, the next morning, he came back and indicated he changed the story that I transferred the money from Ohtani's accounts. Ohtani had nothing to do with this at all. Ohtani has refused to talk to the media. He did have one private meeting with the Dodger executives. The Dodger executives had a closed clubhouse meeting with the Dodger players before today's Thursday game, and nobody was going to talk about what happened inside that meeting. I guess the burning questions that I have, Ohtani, did you give access to your accounts to Mizuhara? Mizuhara, why did you change your story when you've already been fingered for having this massive gambling debt and everybody now knows where the money came from? It's just an absolutely stunning story to me that it would evolve like this. I asked the question, should Major League Baseball remove Ohtani from the roster and put him on administrative leave until the situation can be sorted out? Because I've done that in the past with guys who've gotten in trouble off the field. Or do they let the legal thing take its course till they can get all the data and all the information? MLB has not yet been contacted by the FBI. So, I think this is a story of mega proportions as it relates to a superstar. I guess one of the burning questions I have, is Ohtani just stupid? Or was Ohtani standing up for a friend and made a bad decision? We don't know the depths of Ohtani's involvement with the transfer of the money. We know the depths of his working relationship with Mizuhara. Just an absolutely amazing story when you talk about good citizen, great reputation, phenomenal work ethic, and now this? One other sidebar question. His agent is based here in San Diego, Nez Balelo. He's the one who has really done a strong job protecting Ohtani in the transition of culture and life from Japan to here, be a superstar. Everything with Ohtani has been private and secretive. Nez obviously represents the player, has done a great job representing the player. Please tell me, where was the agent while all this was going on for 6 years? Did the agent have no knowledge whatsoever that Mizuhara was doing what Mizuhara was doing? Does the agent know whether or not Ohtani bailed this guy out? Or was Ohtani an innocent victim who gave access to his accounts to his close personal investment friend? Just an absolutely staggering story. So, John, I've thrown a lot on your desk. Your response when you first heard it, are you as confused now as I am about the fact we don't really have all the story yet? Or is this details still to come?
There's so many layers to this, Lee. I mean, I don't even know where to begin. Let's just say this. First of all, this smells like a cover-up. It smells like, they're trying to protect Ohtani. The Dodgers, MLB, they want to keep him clean. And I think that's why this shifted from a Ohtani, quote, helping out his buddy, which I think is what probably went down, to this being Ohtani had no knowledge, the money was stolen, and they're trying to throw the translator under the bus. That's what it feels like to me.
Translator is already under the bus. His fingerprints are everything. Now the question is, did he transfer the money? Did Ohtani not know the money had been transferred?
Oh.
Or did Ohtani's personal lawyer discover this, raise questions with the player, and then the information became fully public?
Well, I don't even know where to begin on this. The Ohtani, I think, was definitely helping out his friend. I mean, that just seems very clear to me. But the other angle to this is interesting too, because what did he bet on? He betted on, apparently not on baseball.
He bet on everything else.
Bet on everything else. And I think Major League Baseball says it's okay for major league players or employees if they want to bet on March Madness, for example, and do a bracket. I mean, the guys, they do fantasy football. We know that for sure, the players. But what made this interesting is that he was betting in the state of California, where sports betting is illegal, even though it's legal in 40 other states. So, when you're doing DraftKings or, FanDuel, apparently that's not really legal here. But I know that like one of my buddies lives in Orange County and he has a bookie, and the bookie like private labeled an app on his phone to make bets. And so there's a lot of this underground gambling that's going on. But in my opinion, Ohtani knew what was going down, because him and this translator, they're like a merger of one person. They're constantly together. They're confidants that go way beyond just a professional relationship.
But how could Ohtani be so dumb to make payments on gambling debts to a bookie from his own accounts? If you're telling me Ohtani sat at his laptop, went into his accounts, transferred the money, because that's where the paper trail is. Or did Mizuhara have access to the accounts? He went in on the computer, used the code, transferred the money himself. We don't know.
Well, that's probably what happened, is Mizuhara probably moved the money around. This smells like the whole Stormy Daniels thing, as far as who paid who and how it all went down. Again, Ohtani has shown us zero evidence of having any character flaws. Now, granted, he's private, so we don't know the whole thing. This strikes me as this translator got in over his head. He got help from Ohtani. Ohtani probably knew, probably gave him a little slack. Now this is all going to go down. But it makes Major League Baseball seem like a hypocrite on this when they've accept all this advertising from FanDuels and from DraftKings.
Yeah, concur with you wholeheartedly. And a sidebar to that statement, MLB had to know what was about to be released. And here they are, the opening game of the season, and Rob Manfred's on ESPN talking all about the great things in Korea and Ohtani and what he's meant to the game. And baseball didn't know any of this, or did this happen after the last pitch of the last out of the first game?
Well, I think it caught everybody by surprise,
Holy
right?
cow,
I mean,
broadsided like a tidal wave.
Yeah, I mean, no one saw this coming at all. So my guess is Manfred had no knowledge.
Okay, Fans Forum is built for you. If this topic deserves a response. So jump into the chat box right now. You get an opinion on Ohtani, or is it on Mizuhara? Where's the agent in all this? Feel free to join us, because we'll be taking questions and answers on Fans Forum.